Hey everyone, Jake Noecker here with my wonderful co-host Brendan Tobin from Tapped Out on the BetQL Network. Today we're just going to kind of go over some early leans of ours, some early bets we're thinking ahead of the wild card UFC London. Got my British shirt on, Led Zeppelin, only English attire I wear. What's up, Brendan?
What's up, man? I got my Marlin shirt on for fish and chips.
For fish and chips, I love that. Nice and British down in Miami. So yeah, let's just start at the top of the card here. Tom Aspinall main event versus Curtis Blades. Great fight. Tom Aspinall coming in minus 135. Curtis Blades not closing, but as of right now, plus 115. I really like Tom Aspinall there. Normally, last fight I didn't play Tom. I was a little bit too afraid of Volk, but I think Tom proved a lot with his grappling. I think we saw more of how much of a technical, skilled striker he is. I think minus 135 is a bit light. I would think that would be like minus 150, minus 160. I really want to play that. I think some of the grappling draw from Blades is going to lower that line, but Curtis Blades has not been on a hot streak lately. Tom Aspinall has. What do you think about that?
Yeah, it's a fascinating one because Tom Aspinall, I think he is such a fascinating guy in that, he has really come onto the stage of UFC, and it seems like he could just steamroll everybody that he gets in there with. And there's all these questions about what is it going to be like when he gets in there with a veteran who can take him into deep waters. We don't really know that right now. Like, he has been taking care of business so quickly. I think the Volkov fight, people thought a guy like Alexander is durable. He's huge. He's going to stand in there, and he just buzzsawed him. But that being said, with Curtis, like I do think it was fascinating learning this past weekend by Eric Richter, who we had on the show, that the line has swung. I mean, it did open with Curtis Blades being the favorite of this. And I kind of feel like it's going to swing even more, just because of Aspinall having the hometown factor. I think people will see the weigh-ins and they'll get more into him and, kind of even learn about him even more. This is his second straight main event. So I think that part of it scares me that I'm ruling off Curtis Blades, because I just feel like he is still damn good. I feel like if Francis Ngannou wasn't the champion, we'd think of him a lot more as a contender. So I do see where there's the value in there and taking a guy like Curtis Blades, because he's been in there with the best of the best. He's seen everything. And he does, I do feel like a bit of his striking is underrated. He's a pretty vicious ground and pound guy too. And I think that he could do a lot of things here that could bother Tom Aspinall. But Aspinall has been that wonder kid, man. Like, just nothing has seemed to phase him so far.
Yeah, I think this is Blades' first time actually being an underdog in the UFC. So there's obviously value on that. And we did just see Blades knock out Chris Daukaus his last fight. So he's got power in the hands. Obviously, his wrestling is very good. I think the line is too tempting for me on Aspinall. I know he's going to outstrike Blades. I have a feeling he's going to be able to contend in there with the grappling too. So minus 135, Tom Aspinall. I'm on it. I'm not going to yell at you if you're on Blades, though. It's a tempting line, too.
Yeah, I'm feeling that same thing, man. It's just, look, it's a really good fight. This division, it's such a great resurgence of heavyweights over this last 18 months, and especially now you're going to add John Jones to the mix, and a disgruntled champion as it is right now. I mean, it said this past week that Dana met with Ngannou, but that's the other thing that's big here is you have guys like Curtis Blades. He may actually have the opportunity to get a belt wrapped around his waist if he keeps this up and Ngannou goes away. Aspinall obviously seems like a legit contender. So I think that makes for some interesting matchups here of everything. Just feels like it has big stakes for these guys' careers, not just the betting.
Yeah, I love the heavyweight division right now. It's just young guys coming up, fighting the old guys who are like going out. But until Derek Lewis throws that uppercut and knocks one of the young guys out, it's crazy.
Yep.
So yeah, the next fight we're going to talk about, we got Paul Craig coming in as an underdog plus 140 versus Volkan Oezdemir minus 165. I don't understand this line at all. 0%.
I'm with you.
I'm all over Craig on this one. Better grappler. Oezdemir, you can maybe say is the better striker, but we haven't seen that since like 2019 against Alexander Rakic. I love Paul Craig here. I don't really throw down on underdogs too heavy. I might on this one. I think Paul Craig by submission is great, but that plus 140 money line, beautiful.
Yeah, I don't get it either. I think this is one of those things where it's just going on rep with Volkan Oezdemir. People think that, this is a guy that was a title contender a couple of years back and he's carrying that reputation, but really doesn't make sense. And Paul Craig hasn't lost a fight in 6 fights. He's on a 4-fight win streak. I don't really understand it. Oezdemir, lost a couple in a row. Is there a matchup thing there that I'm not seeing? But I don't get it. That was definitely one that popped. There's been, throughout this entire run of things, there's definitely some lines that kind of pop off, and I get it. It's, the guy is maybe a little bit more proven than Paul Craig as far as just being to the top and whatnot. But I'm with you, Ren. I don't understand why Paul Craig is the dog here. I feel like that's way too tempting to pass up.
Yeah, gotta hit that. Paul Craig comes in as the dog pretty often, but he wins as the dog pretty often too. I don't think I've ever seen a man, especially at 205, who I've felt more confident in pulling guard. Like, I think it was against Jamal Hill. Yeah, it was against Jamal Hill when he broke his arm. Paul Craig they were clinching, effortlessly yanked a 220-pound man on top of him and finished the fight. And Jamal Hill scares me a lot more than Volkan Oezdemir. So love that line. Plus 140 Paul Craig, cash it. That's all I have for singles. I have 2 parlays I'm looking at that I like. Before I get to those, are there any singles that stand out to you that you're really digging on?
I'm fascinated by this Paddy Pimblett line. I mean, I think that, he is just such a heavy favorite, it seems like right now. And I feel like that's only going to swing even more in his favor. And I think a lot of people are liking the idea that you can get value in Jordan Levitt. I think that, the idea of Paddy Pimblett, does he have a great advantage there on the ground with Jordan? I mean, that's usually where he's always going to have the advantage on guys. So does this become a striking? How ugly is that going to be between them both? But I don't know, man. Like, I just think with Paddy, it's just, he's a little bit too green and unproven for me in the UFC to throw this much his way. So I think I'm going to go Monkey King going into that one for sure.
A lot of people we've been talking to have been loving Jordan Levitt in this too. I like Jordan Levitt. Jordan Levitt's closing right now, or sitting right now at a plus 210. That's tempting. I see this fight if it goes to the ground. I'm on Team Paddy here. I understand there's a lot of hype beside it. I'm trying to look past that. I think the grappling Paddy is a little bit better than Jordan. I think Jordan's a crazy wrestler. We saw him UFC debut, slam Matt Sales on his face and knock him out, the forearm. I think Paddy's a great Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu fighter. And Jordan Levitt is a great wrestler. Paddy Pimblett in the UFC, we've seen him struggle standing up. I don't know if Jordan's going to present those problems to Paddy on the feet. I think if it goes to the mat, Paddy should have it, but I still think the plus 210 is worth throwing money on a powerful wrestler who we haven't seen struggle much in the UFC.
Yeah, it just feels like to me that that's just, for Jordan's standpoint, I just feel like he's kind of losing a fame battle there. It's like everybody's just so on the Paddy Pimblett hype train, and I'm sure he's going to be thrown into a lot of parlays in this upcoming card. So that's going to stay popular with him. But I don't know. I look at that, I'm just like, all right. I think I throw a little on Jordan Levitt there.
Yeah, I'm not touching the fight personally, but I'm with you. Don't touch Paddy in this. I don't like the value there, and like you said, a little bit too green. And I would love if Jordan Levitt knocked that boy out and twerked in his face in front of London. That would be nonsense.
Oh, man. He's going to get beer thrown at him.
He'll be lucky if it's just beer. That would be absolutely bonkers. So we talked about some singles. Let's talk about 2 parlays I'm liking here. Jonathan Pierce, minus 215. Muhammad Makayev, minus 460. Jonathan Pierce is going up against Marquand Amirkhani, and Muhammad's going up against Charles Johnson. If you put Pierce and Muhammad together for a parlay, that comes out to minus 123. People that know me love that minus 120 to minus 150 range is like my favorite. I don't see either of these guys losing. Marquand Amirkhani is a great grappler, but Jonathan Pierce is a great grappler who has that pace about him, that nonstop pace that judges love. Jonathan Pierce has been on a hot streak. I think he handles Amirkhani easy. And then, this hype kid, Muhammad Makayev, he doesn't seem to have any issues in the UFC. Going up against Charles Johnson, I feel like they're just feeding a goat to a lion there. So I'm probably going to lock that parlay in minus 123.
I like it, man. I think you're on it. You love those prelims for sure. You're always digging early in them.
Love them. The prelims. You know what? I just lied. I said I wasn't going to touch Paddy, and that still might be true, but I did write this play down just because it's a fun one. Paddy Pimblett, Molly McCann, minus 250, minus 390, comes out to minus 133 parlay. I'm a lot more confident in Molly in this one. I think Hannah Goldie doesn't have anything for Molly. I think the only time she's won in the UFC was like a lucky armbar off her back when she was losing the whole fight anyway. So Molly minus 390 is a pretty safe parlay piece, but we just talked about Paddy. I don't know. Just a fun parlay to throw out there.
Definitely a fun parlay. It's definitely the crowd favorite parlay. The two of those, yeah, they're like almost like a superhero team and tandem.
Yeah.
So that'd be cool. And it's look, that's always an interesting factor too. We saw this past week. I love the fight nights that are getting back in front of the crowd. I mean, look, they blew the roof off the place. Everybody from across the pond in front of their home nations. That was a big factor. It felt like, I mean, just because a lot of the fans went home happy. I do think these are some tougher matchups that are going on, not necessarily for Molly or for I do think for Patty, but I think there is a little bit something to that of a home ring advantage, a home cage advantage for these guys, just from an energy standpoint. Does their opponent get shook a little bit? British fans can be brutal, man. They're not like American fans. They love their own and they hate anybody in there to come beat them. I think when you're fighting in America, you'll have the hometown guy, but how vicious was the crowd Volkanovski had to face against Holloway? Like, not that bad.
Right. Yeah, the England vibe's incredible. I'm curious as to see if it's going to be as electric as it was a few months ago, just because that first London card was the first time we were back there in 3 years, since March of 2019. But it's England, UK boys. They always throw out for their people. So I think we're going to expect a loud environment to give a nice home crowd advantage. London has that particular vibe. So just to recap what we talked about so far, Tom Aspinall minus 135, we're both liking. Paul Craig plus 140, we're both liking. Jonathan Pierce, Muhammad Makayev parlay comes out minus 123. I'm a fan of. You seem to be a fan of as well. And then I wouldn't suggest betting Patty, but if you're going to at the minus 250, may as well throw him in there with Molly McCann minus 390 to make that come out to a minus 133 play. That's what I got for UFC London. I think most of all, though, I'm just excited for the card. Love the London cards. Not super hype. It's a day card again, but it's going to be a good time. Yeah,
it's definitely a swing for our show, too, for those who are going to tune in on Saturday. Like, I do like the reaction, getting the chance to react to everything, especially, we had this past week. We had, for whatever reason, Long Island was super early, but it was cool because it was a lot of news that came out of that, a lot of action, those cards. So that's always fun. The last time I remember we had Aspinall and we had Volkov on, and then literally the fight ends like right as their interviews basically ended. Yeah. So those are always fun cards to go in there and react to. Yeah, for sure. So if you watch this, thank you guys very much. Make sure to tune in Saturday, 5 to 7 p.m. Eastern time on the BetQL network. I'll be posting that all on Twitter. That's where you can actually catch the full podcast. We'll be talking everything UFC London, UFC 277, and whatever else you people want to hear about. Brendan, my man, BT, thank you so much.